Okay, I'm going to do it now. I know exactly what I've got to do. Thank you. Got a couple of apologies to make. First of all, I've got to apologise for the distorted sound in the video before last. And I've got to apologise for the abrupt start and the abrupt ending of the videos yesterday. Also, I've got to make clear the difference between patriotism and nationalism. Patriotism, you want the best for your country. Nationalism, you don't care as long as you keep foreigners out. Blacks, Asians, brown people, and people speaking a funny language. Don't want none of them here. Don't want to see no little Asian girls and no little black girls wearing the England football shirt. Not even the England rugby shirt. Not even the England cricket shirt. We don't want to see it. Don't want to see it. Right? We don't want to see a little white girl, right, dressed up, on St. Patrick's Day in all Irish gear in England. Nah, don't want to see that. So I've got to make it clear, because obviously I know the difference between patriotism and nationalism, and I made a serious mistake yesterday when I said, you know what, this is all the English have is patriotism. What I meant is all the English have is nationalism. So I have to thank my contributor for actually pulling me up on that and saying, you know what, you made a rookie mistake, because it was a rookie mistake actually, but And then I've upset the Welsh. I haven't said anything derogative about Gareth Bale or their rivers, which they believe is which actually are the cleanest in the UK, because you can actually drink straight from the rivers in Wales and from the streams. Right, so I've got to clear up a little bit with the Welsh, because yesterday in the conversation about NHS car parks and prescription charges, I neglected to leave the Welsh out, and I shouldn't have done that. The Welsh should have been in, because after all, it was the Welsh that gave us the National Health Service. Without the Welsh, we wouldn't have the National Health Service. So always remember that. Right? And the Welsh will always tell you that they have the UK's best player, and there was one more thing that I wanted have you ever met a Welshman who can tell you he can't sing? Every Welshman I've met believe that they can sing like Tom Jones, and some of them belt out a good tune, because a lot of them in church choirs, loads of them, they're the ones who do the proper baritones. Anyway, welcome back to Regrexit. Brexit, England, Northern Ireland and Eastern Europe. And in Brexit, England, they keep telling us that Boris Johnson, right, it's not the time to get rid of him. Look, I think that Boris Johnson should actually be there, right, to face the electorate in the next election. But obviously, against Keir Starmer, it's not like we're going to get a Labour Party that is anything different from like your Tony Blair type. So they're going to go along the same sort of lines as the Tories. They'll spend a little bit more money. They'll throw more money into the police and into the NHS and and stuff like that. But they won't go back in for taking back our industries and all that type of thing, because that's what you need. That's what we need in this country. We need a government who's going to come in and take back all of our industries, right? The water, the electric, the gas, and I was going to say bring back car making into this country. Do you know what I mean? Because, if you look at if you look at all of our councils and the police and the fire service and the ambulance service, these guys are all driving around in like BMWs, VWs, Fiats, Mercedes, Sprinters and Mercedes cars. That's what all these guys are driving about in. Right? With all of that, right? Every year these guys are buying new vehicles and all that, right? But they've allowed the British manufacturing to go to pot of vehicles, because you know why? Because it's for the working classes, and they'll prefer. You know what? Because obviously British Leyland must have been government owned at some stage, right? So they prefer no. We prefer you to work for private companies, and that's better for us. So I can keep telling you that Boris Johnson, shouldn't be. We can't get rid of him now because it would be too detrimental. And with the war in the Ukraine and all them things, and then who else is going to take over? And you got all these Tory MPs like agreeing. I'm thinking to myself, seriously, you're all agreeing. Well, all of you don't think. I could be the leader of this party. Because if you're an MP, then you should think to yourself, well, I could be Prime Minister. At whatever level of MP you're at, you should be thinking, well, you know what, I can do the big job. I'm an MP, so I can do the big job. But a lot of them don't even think like that. Right? But it's strange how the French, right, can reject racism, right, and have an election during the war in Ukraine, but we can't change our leader. Why is Britain always dragging its heels with everything? And welcome back to By Any Means Necessary. Thank you so much for all your messages you sent me, and a special thanks here to everybody who signed up to my channel. I feel so blessed with so much people that have signed up, so thank you so much for that. I'll go through all your messages, I'll answer as many as I can, but I will like all your messages for definite. Well, that was a long intro. Australians are looking for young Brits between 18 and 30 to go there, right, on a £10 there, £10 back. So that's less than, that's actually just, that's virtually a pint, especially in London. That's like a pint money to go to Australia and come back, £20. So what the plan is for them to go over there and they'll work for like 12 weeks, and if they do the 12 weeks, then they can have a visa extended for a year. The idea is so that they can get a load of young white people to come over to Australia to go and work. And you think, well, what about all these brown people, right, and all the Vietnamese boat people, right, that have been trying to get into this country, right? This country that is so vast, right, where the inhabitants went there and murdered all of the people that lived there, slaughtered all of them, the Aborigines, slaughtered a genocide against the Aborigines, took their country, right, and then won't allow brown people in, won't allow black people in, and certainly don't want no Vietnamese or no Chinese people and all those type of people in. And these people, because obviously that Australia was right up there as of the world's most racist country. Obviously, England took the title from them last week, right, when they wanted to send people who look like me to Rwanda. Right? And in saying that, poor old Priti Patel, right, has had some really bad news on the old boat turning round business, right, where there is she in court. I think the final hearing was yesterday or the day before. Well, it can't be the day before because that was Sunday. So it must have been yesterday. And what's happened is one of the charities have taken out a case against the government. To say, well, this is illegal. You're not allowed to do that. So the government has let it run, right? And then just before the court case, the government said, actually, we're going to offer no evidence. So the case, it basically didn't even go to court, and it was just, she was just been told what you were trying to do by turning boats around to send them back to France was illegal in the first place, and it's illegal now, and it will be illegal in the future. So I can see, that some challenges could come in for this whole Rwanda thing. But anyway, so the Australians are looking for young Brits to go to Australia and help them out, right, with all the, there's lots of massive farms and all that over there. And there's a lot of work over there, a lot of work over there need doing, right? But they just, for them, they just sort of, well, you know what, we want young white people to come over and do that work for us, right? It's sort of like, I suppose, yeah. You see that the Rivers of Blood speech, right, that was delivered by, oh God, what's his name? Enoch Powell. Right. I think that people think, that Enoch Powell was an out and out racist. I don't really know about his personal life, but one I do know about Enoch Powell is this, right? He was the person that went to the Caribbean, right, to ask the West Indians to come to this country. He's the one the government sent. I don't think much people actually realise this, right? Because I know, because my mum told me, because she was there. Right? And Enoch Powell went to the West Indies, right, and asked them to come over to England. And it's when he saw the reaction of the English people, that's when he wrote his Rivers of Blood speech, because he saw the reaction and he said, this is not going to work. It's never going to work, because the reaction of the. There's my light just gone. I can't believe that. But 1 second, I will just plug that right back in, because that's just taking the absolute. Where's the? Which one is it? Let me just find that. We have light again. That's terrible, right? Yeah. So Enoch Powell, he went over, and so it's when he saw the reaction of the English people. That's when he wrote that speech, because he saw that there was too much hostility, far too much hostility. So so it wasn't a good thing at all, right? And so where we go, right? I don't know if you've seen like what's going on in American politics, because American politics is just in a devastating place. It's in a place that is just. It's in a shock. American politics is in a shocking. When I say a shocking place, I mean an absolutely shocking place. I don't know if you know Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? But she's basically Nadine Dorries, yeah, on steroids, right? But the perjury. Right, I just heard her commit the other day in the courts, because they're trying to block her from standing as a congresswoman again, because obviously she had a massive part played in the January 6th thing, and so they're trying to block her, right? And she was just in the dock, just lying her head off, absolutely just lying her. If she's not done for perjury, I'll just say, well, I don't know, because these people, they've tried an insurrection, and all of them should actually be locked up right now. Every last one of them should really be locked up. And then you move to Donald Trump, and Donald Trump, yeah, he was held in contempt of court because of holding back his tax returns. So now, they've issued him with like a £10,000 a day fine. Obviously, he's a billionaire, so that's not really. And he's probably already putting out the feelers, asking people, please send me your money, because those damn lefties, right? The woke crew, they're being racist to me, because that's what he says about Letitia Dean. I think that's what her name is, in New York City. That she's one of the prosecutors in New York City, and they say, well, she's coming up because she's racist, because she's black. She's coming up because she's racist. I just don't, the biggest one is some of these like far right people are some of the biggest snowflakes out there, right? She's coming after you because you avoided the taxes, right? So Trump now, yeah, £10,000 a day. So now I guarantee you he's going to start hitting up, to American politics. But I have this feeling, right, that even if Donald Trump tries to become the president again, right, I have this feeling that that there's going to be so much people trying to block it, because look, that's what they're doing to Marjorie Taylor Greene, and and where she's had to come to court now, there's things that she's had to say, right? Because that she's had to lie about, because otherwise she would because they drew her into and if she started admitting some of the stuff what they was put into her, which they knew was true, because they've got it all on tweets and it's all on video. I mean, she's made loads of videos and it's all, she tweets all the time. So some of the stuff what they was asking her, she just had to keep saying, well, I don't know, I can't remember, and that's all she went through. I don't know, I can't remember. Right? I don't know how much time she said them words, but she said them a lot. And it's the things where it's really provable. Some of these things are provable, like what she said about Nancy Pelosi. All these things are really provable. She had to stop herself. She literally had to stop herself on the where they said to her, "Did you something about like death threats or something like that about Nancy Pelosi?" And she had to stop them and say, "No, no, actually," because they was going to show her the evidence right there, right? So she had to stop them quickly, right? And but she is like. American politics is just like, it's in just one crazy place, and so the right wing, they're just psycho. These people are loco. They're nuts. The Russians are warning the West to stop supplying Ukraine with sophisticated weapons. And the West haven't even supplied Ukraine the more sophisticated weapons than the Russians have actually got, because they can do. Obviously, they haven't got the hypersonic stuff, but they can supply them with much more sophisticated stuff. And imagine the Ukrainians doing this to the Russians, right, with the weapons they're supplying. Right, so imagine if they give them the more sophisticated stuff, because the Russians have specifically said, listen, there's this system what they use, right, and this system it just overloads you with rockets. And the Russians have specifically said, don't make sure you don't give them that. But otherwise, right, it's going to be all out war between us and you. There's like NATO and Russia. So that will be some nuclear bizzle. Elon Musk has finally got his filthy little mitts on Twitter. Right? Spending, buying like the tech company for, with money that could really help some motherfuckers out around the world. Right? You got people starving all up in the world, and this motherfucker spending all this money on fucking sending shit up into space. Right? All the satellites and all that. That's all good. And the fact that he can send over like he can send Wi-Fi. Basically, he can send Wi-Fi over to you wherever you are in the world. He could just send his satellite over, and then everyone in the country can get Wi-Fi. I think that's how it works, because he's done it in Ukraine, isn't it? Right. So, but just taking all that money, it's just obscene to take all that money and just spend it on all this type of nonsense. Do you know what I mean? Right. While people are starving around the world, we've got like serious illness with people around the world, and all sorts of different people suffering. Right. And you think, well, what the hell are you going to do with all of those billions and billions? Because once you're up to that level, right, it's not like you can ever be broke again. Do you know what I mean? I can't understand what kind of warm feeling you can get, right? Buying a tech company while there are people starving in the world. I just can't see what kind of joy you can actually get from that. But obviously, Elon Musk can get a lot of joy, right, from buying a tech company so that he can tweet like a 12-year-old boy, like he does all the time. Talking about how he is a free speech advocate, or whatever the hell he wants to call himself. But they say, no, you're not. No, you're not. Right? You shut down journalists and don't let journalists into your business all day. And no one has banned more people on Twitter, right, than Elon Musk. He's a tetchy motherfucker. That's what he is. He's tetchy. That's what the truth is. Right? The unions that represent the P&O workers are asking us, right, to boycott P&O. Really? So how the fuck is people going to get to France? They run most of they run a lot of that service. So I can't really see that working for them, because what the British like, the English like. Did the P&O workers, how did they feel, right, when the junior doctors, right, or the teachers, right, or some of the transport workers wanted to take, right, union action over their jobs? Maybe they might have had 1 or 2 days of strike. How did the P&O workers feel about it? I guarantee the P&O workers were saying, what they should do is they should get back to work. That's what they should do. Right? Why do they think it's okay for them to withhold their labour? Why do they think it's okay? And then look, when all their ass gets sacked, this is what, right? But if the government was really serious about all this shit, the government could have said, listen, P&O, take your motherfucking shit and take it back to Dubai, right? Do not darken our door again. Don't come back here. You are not welcome. But no, the government's just like, what we'll do, we'll just hold their ships for a couple of weeks. Right? And then we'll just allow them to trade again when it all calms down. Because now the British people are just like, well, that ship's floating, right? I'm on that motherfucker. that's just how they're dealing with it. So far Britain has given out less than 50 visas, right, to Ukrainians. I think it's something like that. It's a ridiculous amount. But because Susanna Reid was up in there, up in Poland or something like that the other day. Right? So right at the end, right, you've got where the table where it's supposed to be the British home people from the Home Office are supposed to be there, right? You know, because all the other countries, all the other EU countries or whatever, have got their desks and they've got Home Office workers manning it. Right? Ours have got a charity from Bristol manning our desk. A charity from Bristol, right? Not even working. They're not even working like in contract with the government. They've just gone there and just basically set up themselves. Right? After Priti Patel was saying, "Oh no, we've got everything sorted." No, not at all. Right? And every single other country, right? You know, they just say, "Okay." At the minute you say, if you say, "Well, you know, if you come from UK, no, I'm going to Germany," right? The next bus that's leaving to go to Germany, that's the one you're on. Right, there's no waiting around for visas and that. It's only England that have insisted on like people having visas and all these things there. Everyone else is just like they're doing that. They're doing all those checks once the people land in their countries. That's when they're doing their checks. But you see, because this country is so damn racist. This is all the hostile environment, and it's taking so long for them to get through the hostile environment because they've got to get through that before they can just relax, because otherwise they'll just be able to relax and just let all these people in, but they can't because they've put in laws in place, right? And you know, so because of that, right, now they're in a real bind because they're making themselves internationally look like absolute idiots, like they really don't know what they're doing in front of the real world. Roger Daltrey is disappointed with Brexit. Roger Daltrey was a chief Brexiter. He was proper out there for Brexit. He was all up in the Brexit's face, Roger Daltrey was. Right? And now Roger Daltrey's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe, right, that I took my damn racist self with my stupid hair, right, and voted, right, for something that's going to be so devastating to this country." How stupid do you feel now, Roger Daltrey? I bet he feels like one big fool, right? And you say, well, he was fooled. He was fooled into it. Yeah, that's right, because you're a damn racist idiot, right? Who listened to these fools, right, and voted on something that you didn't have a clue about, because that's what the truth is, right? The people of this country should have never ever been given the vote, right, on something that they don't understand, right, that's got so much importance. You should have never got a vote on that. It was ridiculous to get a vote on that. I'm not telling you that I knew about the workings of the EU, right? But once the original referendum came up, that's when I started like looking into the EU. And once I looked into it, I knew what devastation there was going to be if we decided we were going to be stupid enough, right, to shoot ourselves in the foot and in both feet and both hands and in the forehead, just missing the brain, but nicking it though. Just give it a little scratch, because that's what we've done. But once I started reading through that, I knew that was going to be the case. An English family have been refused entry to Portugal after coming foul of new passport laws. They're not new laws. They're just third country laws what the EU already had. So it's something to do with the dates in their passport. So they've lost their £3,000 holiday. I believe their family of four. The mum, she didn't have her passport. I think the dates, she only had a few months left off. I think she was in time for what originally we know is, because it's supposed to be 3, 4 or 5 months, something like that. It's supposed to be, right, that you've got to have on your passport so you can travel, right? Because if you've got less than that, you can't really travel, right? But with the new EU, with the new laws that we now have to abide to, means that date doesn't mean anything, because the EU have already got they've already got it written down in their rules. So she wouldn't have been allowed into Portugal because of that. Now, in the FT, UK trade relationship tumble after Brexit due to red tape. Right? That's what the Financial Times says, right? So it's red tape, customs controls, and taxes caused many small businesses to stop trading with the EU. And on exactly the same day, the same time, in the evening, no, the Telegraph. In the Telegraph, they had this headline: "No evidence of sustained hit to UK exports since Brexit." So there's no trade. That's what they're saying. There's no difference in the trade, right, between the EU and Britain since Brexit. But the Financial Times, they're the money people, are saying the same story, but they're saying there's been a a tumble, and they're saying no evidence of sustained. So who do we believe? The Telegraph, the Boris Johnson Bible, right? The people who back Boris, hashtag back Boris, the Telegraph, right? Or the Financial Times, the people who know about money. I'm going to leave that up to you, because I've gone well over my time, so I've got to go. This is By Any Means Necessary. I'm DMC John Ribbs. It was really nice to speak to you guys. Comments below, and I'm really sorry about the whole light business.